Good morning and welcome to Contagious Courage. It's a huge honor for me to be here today with our guest Trevor Ives. He's a life coach and he's going to share his wisdom and tips and tools that we can use in everyday life to just live a more fulfilled life, have deep and meaningful conversations. And for me, like a heart, mind, body, soul connection, you know, that inner peace that I think that everybody is looking for starts with taking small steps for yourself sometimes. And part of that is having boundaries, which for me is sometimes very difficult to even acknowledge that you have them. So yeah, maybe this encourages us all to take a chance on ourselves and have more respect and value in our relationships and deeper and meaningful connections. So welcome, Trevor.
Lorika, thank you. Thanks for the invitation into your wonderful space. I see lots of lovely flowers, a river behind me, plants, peace and quiet. Lots of small things. You mentioned small steps. I see lots of small things that are all in their own way contributing to this fantastic experience here today. Thank you.
Yes, and part of boundaries, if you had to define them or if you had to identify certain feelings inside of a person that might need to take a look at boundaries or putting boundaries in place, what like overwhelm or exhaustion, and then what else are typical things that you encounter with your clients? Your clients are mostly males looking for guidance.
Yes, so my clients are fathers looking to do the best for their kids and their family. And you've mentioned boundaries and you mentioned feelings, and I think there's a step further back to take, even a step to take even further back, and that is values. What are my values? And what is important to me?
Yes.
And values will speak directly to needs. And my needs are the things that I want to put my boundaries around, to protect, to ensure that that grows. But then there's, in between the values and the boundaries, we've got the feelings. When the value is thriving, when the value is doing well, and the things that I want to grow inside my boundaries are doing well, I experience joy and I have feelings of contentment, peace, harmony, all the good stuff. When my values are in place and things aren't going well according to my boundaries, they're being violated in some way, they're being disrespected in some way, then I've got feelings that are not positive. They're going to be negative. I'm going to have sadness, anger, despair. Perhaps I'm going to have guilt. So it's important to have that lineage of I feel it's important to have the lineage of the values, feelings and boundaries all together, because they all are interconnected.
That's going to require some time for you to go and sit and reflect, because first of all, if you have this emotion, say for instance something makes you angry, by acknowledging the fact that it makes you angry and then realizing, going to sit with yourself and asking you, why is this making you angry? So it's very, very much a self-reflective process first, if your boundaries are not necessarily in place. Because I think, also for me, I think I'm a absolute people pleaser. Up until now, I'm tending to my boundary garden. You put it so beautifully once about, it's not about keeping people out, it's just tending out of your garden and putting a fence around it. It's just looking after your garden. Can you explain that in your beautiful words?
Thank you. So I did a small Instagram reel, it might have been last week, about this. If you imagine yourself as a garden, and you want certain things in there. So when it comes to values, you're going to say, well, I value tomatoes, or I value corn, or cabbages. Those are the things that you're going to want to grow inside your garden. You want to protect those from, you want to keep them safe. Maybe there's going to be a flood that's going to come and destroy your crop, or someone's going to come along and take it, or look after it badly. So in order to do that, you're going to put up a fence. It might be a high fence, it might be a low fence. And by doing so, you're going to protect the things that you value. And when the crop grows, great, I'm a successful farmer. When the crop gets flooded, it's a disaster. It could be a natural disaster, or you might have some animals just wander through and eat all your cabbages, and you have no more cabbages left. And the things that you valued are now gone, and you will have some sort of feelings around that. And so if you value certain things, let's go with the cabbage example, and you don't put that boundary in place, and some animals come past and they eat the cabbages, what were you valuing? Did you value the cabbages enough to protect them, or to think to protect them? If you have no boundaries in place, but you still value the cabbages, or you think you value the cabbages, and they get eaten, what was the original thought about the values? And are your feelings of disappointment, anger, frustration, whatever it might be, are they really in line with your values? Or simply because you had some sort of attachment to the cabbages, or you felt you needed an attachment to the cabbages? Were those cabbages there specifically for your needs? Were they 100% in alignment with your values? Or did you take on some values and needs or beliefs about your needs from somewhere else, thinking that the cabbages need to be here for me, when in actual fact it could be for some other reason? And so having those values correctly identified up front might mean that actually it's not cabbages, I'm just going to plant scarecrows. And maybe that is the actual value that you're seeing. And that is the actual thing that you want to protect. The cabbages were not valuable enough for you to protect. And that's why there was no boundary there. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense. So we need boundaries in our everyday life, in our work, in our relationships. And why are they so vitally important for us? Do you think it's because if we don't adhere to those things, that somewhere deep inside it makes us feel like a bit of a failure, a little bit less, because of something outside?
Definitely. Those feelings of failure and being less are really, it's tied to that lineage of the values, feelings, and boundaries. When the boundaries are transgressed, and I've focused on the cabbages, but it could be anything. It could be certain behaviors that you will tolerate around you or accept around you. It could be bad driving on the road. It could be people cutting in the queue in the supermarket. It could be anything that you don't want to accept, and you'll go, no, there's my boundary. You put it down and say, things inside I accept and things outside I don't accept. By cutting in front of me in the grocery queue is, I find acceptable, and then you'll need to take certain actions. And when that kind of behavior happens around you, you've got two choices. It really does come down to a binary thing, or maybe it's not quite binary. The thing that I just caught myself there was the serenity prayer. Give me the strength to change the things that I can. Give me the grace to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. So the person is cut in front of me in the queue. I can then choose to say, that is not cool. I don't accept that. Please accept the general social norms and join the back of the queue. Or you could say, it's okay, the person is in a rush and I can compromise my boundary, my value accordingly because it's not that important. Just like you didn't protect I didn't protect the cabbages. And so I allow that compromise. And maybe I allow the compromise consciously and I make a choice about that compromise. Or I'm forced into that compromise, and then it's not acceptance, then it's the opposite of acceptance. It's rejection, the anger, the disappointment, the frustration, feelings of less, self-worth, and so on. And I feel it's really important to stop and think before responding or reacting.
Yeah, because you can't also not take this too far and just, in the name of boundaries, do things. Yeah.
We see it in road rage a lot, and that can escalate from a shouting match to the
someone pulling a gun sometimes,
absolutely.
I feel like that is the extreme, that has already gone too far. That should be a clear indication that something's not right, whether it's boundaries or whether your cup is just too full.
Yeah, that cup, when it becomes too full.
And the resentment and all those things that lie at the bottom of this, that makes it boil over at something like someone cutting in front of you in the queue at the spa.
Yeah. So it's somebody cuts. So it's a chain of events. I'm standing in the queue. Somebody cuts in front, and I can choose to immediately say no and start and escalate the engagement, and that could end up who knows where. Or I could stop and think and go, what is the right thing to do here? Just stop, consider what my options are, and then respond rather than react. And that response is coming more from a conscious place within me, that I can then just consider, actually, is this good or is this bad for me? Is accepting this okay or is it not okay? And then take the appropriate action. And it might be that there's no action to be taken, in which case I accept it and it's okay. But the important thing there is that by choosing to accept it, you are sending a clear signal. It is a communication to the person that's done this, assuming then they understand what they've done and they are aware of the implications on the people around them. You've given the communication to them that it's okay to do this. Their response might be to call their friends to come and join the queue in front of them. And then you sit with, I made this choice once and now I might be expected to make this choice again. In the case of the garden, back to the garden analogy, when the animals come through and feed on your crop, and you do nothing about it, I do nothing about it, it's sending a signal to them that it's okay, and they will come and do it again, because that is nature. I'm going to say animal nature, but it's like that for humans too.
Definitely. You set the example of how people treat you.
For those raising children, if you allow the behavior once, twice, it's going to get ingrained, and then it's going to happen regardless. And it's going to continue happening. And at that point, it becomes a little bit more difficult to change the course of that ship.
Yes.
So setting
That's why it's important also to do it in a relationship, for instance, from the beginning. When it happens the first time, to discuss it, to speak about it, if it's with a colleague or someone, because these are important. We spend so much time with these people. And if I'd like to think whatever you don't change, you effectively choose for yourself. So if you think about it like that, what are you choosing? Are you choosing that kind of repetitive behavior towards yourself? And I think that's when it starts building up, and you realize that boundaries are needed. A conversation is needed about this, because also sometimes people don't know they think it's okay. Ach, she won't mind. You know, sometimes people do things and then they say, Lorika won't mind or Trevor won't mind. And it's not like you really mind, but also to realize that someone thinks that doing that over and over and over is okay, whereas maybe once it was okay, but doing it really has an impact on me. And to be bare and vulnerable with each other, with a partner, with a friend, with a colleague, with your boss even, to say that this is something that doesn't really work for me.
First, I'd like just to go back to that lovely saying, what I don't change, I choose. That's a beautiful saying. It really is so resonant for me right now. And I think for the world as a whole. In fact, for me right now, I think it's probably been applicable to the world forever.
What we don't change, we choose.
Absolutely. And the other thing you said, in relationships, you spend so much time with the person. And I'm wondering if that time couldn't be best spent communicating and speaking our truth to the other person. Whatever that relationship might be. It might be a romantic relationship, one with children, or even in the workplace. Speaking our truth is so important. And so often we don't speak our truth because we fear of judgment.
Wanting to be likable.
Who doesn't want to be liked?
Obvious.
I think we all would like to be liked at some level. The problem comes is when that wanting to be liked takes precedence over our own integrity. My actions match my words. I say what I do and I do what I say. The things that we stand for, our values. So when I'm in the workplace and I want my colleagues to like me and I compromise my values and my integrity because I want them to like me, it's a slippery slope because I'm signaling to them that I will accept certain things and I'm very likable.
And you might be liked, but do you like yourself then?
That's, again, beautiful. I love that. I'm liked, but do I like myself? And again, getting to that little point between the event and then what I do about it. Do I say I want to be liked or I want to like myself? And the consequences are it might compromise my position in the workplace. That by putting myself in a position where I'm in integrity with myself so that I can like myself as a person might mean that I can no longer be in that workplace. I mean, that is quite a sacrifice that we'd have to make. Jobs are not that easy.
Sometimes it's realizing those big things that have a massive impact on your everyday life. And then you have to think what's best for you. And can you live with yourself at the end of the day? That's the thing, because I saw a video the other day about Mike Posner, who is a DJ. He got bitten by a rattlesnake. He walked through America. And at that last bit of his journey, where he was so sore and actually so over it, and he was fighting this own battle in his head where the rattlesnake bit him, and he was recovering for 3 months. And anyone would have thought, you got bitten by a rattlesnake. You don't have to finish. You know, those thoughts are in your head because you're tired. You don't really... But at the end of the day, what he said is, if I go back and I didn't finish, yes, a lot of people would have understood. I got bit by a rattlesnake. But I would have always known that I didn't finish.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that.
Yeah. It's just trying to process that quickly. By reflecting back on the situation, he would have known that he had more to give. If he'd given up, he'd always have that, if I'd just given that little bit extra that I know that I could have, everyone would have given me a free pass for giving up. I got bitten by a rattlesnake. I mean, that's not just
Yeah.
stubbing your toe.
Anyone can understand. The fact that you even survived.
Absolutely. But then at the same time, knowing that there might have been a little bit more to give, and if he'd given that, what might he have gotten? He gave that extra and finished what he was doing.
And he was proud of himself.
Absolutely, and he set a mark for human achievement, and we see that, throughout history of these amazing achievements of people that are historic. But then there's also those achievements that are not recorded in history. The small little things that people do on a daily basis that often are not noticed. Just that little bit extra, by giving that little bit extra, by going, no, I'm not going to let this overtake my boundary. No. And by just that little word, no, I'm not going to do this. And pushing through is so important. Yeah, thanks to that story. Beautiful.
Often when you think of saying no, you maybe think of you're going to fail people. But saying no, and just saying no without an excuse, just saying no because I choose something different for myself, might be really difficult in the beginning. You don't have to say it to someone. Maybe you just say it to yourself. I choose something better for myself in this situation or whatever. And then standing up for yourself as well. Taking a chance on yourself and being your true, authentic self with all your frills and fratte and everything. Because I think in not being able to do that, we also tend to skimp on our boundaries so that we can just blend in.
Yeah.
And the world needs your light to shine. The world needs my light to shine. The world needs your light to shine. Your own unique light. You don't even know that you are a guiding beacon for the next person. Yeah. So the initial meeting between me and you was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was by total chance, and I don't think it was by chance. It is an absolute pleasure speaking to someone about this. And my question to you is, in your life, what was the moment that you realized that this is firstly your passion, and also that certain boundaries need to be put in place in order to show up as the person that you would like to show up as? The defining moment for you where things changed.
So I'll speak in broad terms to that. And it was when values became clear. I was working in a industry where it was comfortable. It was fine. It was the salary was good. The reward was low, and that salary is so seductive.
It's like a little comfort cushion.
Yeah, it's that little comfort zone. It's warm and fluffy, and it's nice. And yeah, I can put up with this. It's okay. But by having less reward than is actually acceptable was a value that I was compromising. And
fulfillment.
Fulfillment, yeah. And making a difference. It's just something that I felt. I can't, this is not a judgment or a incrimination of people that do work in that industry. It's their values are different to mine, and that's the beautiful thing. We're all different and unique, and what works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay. And in that space, I got to work in the sort of low-level psychological space, working with people, working through stuff. And I suddenly got to a point where I suddenly had this light bulb went on, and I had this feeling of fulfillment, and I thought, well, that's actually what I want to do. I thought I knew what I was doing was fine, and then I realized, actually, no, this feeling is new and it's foreign and it's amazing, and I want more of it, and chose to embark on a career of coaching. There was some false starts, some moments that didn't feel so great, it didn't resonate. But I keep going back to that original feeling of what I felt and going, no, I want to go back there. And some days I do get back there, and it's amazing. It really is good. It's kind of a vindication of a journey, if you want to call it that. So I had lots of long, hard talks with myself to keep myself on the path. And make no mistake, the path hasn't been a smooth one, and there's no reason why it should be smooth. Why should everything be plain sailing? It's in the difficulties that we learn and we grow. So in that case, I looked at my garden, and I looked around and saw what I was valuing at the time, and I thought, no, this is no good. I need to pull up these crops. I need to plant new ones, and I need to protect them this time, which is what I did. And some days the boundaries are a little bit porous, but some days they hold strong.
And it's a learning curve. I mean, it's not just boundaries and you go. It's realizing, then trying to put them in place, finding.
And what's really important is something that should have been clear to me from the start, and I would hope is clear to others, is that when I establish boundaries and people don't like me establishing boundaries, it's probably because they would rather I didn't have any. And it's usually because I've ended up saying no to somebody, and they don't like that. If you sense in your body when somebody says no to you, what does it feel like? And maybe that's something that's still to be learned by people out there. But by expressing a want and then somebody saying no, you express an expectation. Can we meet at 3 o'clock? And they go, no, we can't. I can't meet at 3 o'clock. I had 3 o'clock in my mind. I'm all geared up for that. And someone says no, doesn't feel great. They're setting their boundary. And they're going, I can't do that.
For your time, sometimes we just, a small boundary is taking on too much, and there is no time to actually fit in more, but you can't say no, so now you say yes, and now you overextend yourself, and then you feel like you didn't meet all the expectations. I think a lot of it is just slowing down. First of all, with yourself, and taking that time to identify why you are feeling or reacting in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you said the values. Obviously, I think you need to be aware of what your values are. Is this something, for instance, that you help people with in the beginning, like just to identify the basics, to even have somewhere to start?
So the beginnings of my coaching relationships with clients is to get to establish who we are, and not just me establishing who the client is, but they need to establish who I am as well. Maybe they don't want to work with me, and that's absolutely fine. And it could be for whatever reason. It could be my accent or my mannerisms or the phrases that I use. It just doesn't resonate with them, and that's absolutely fine. But it's important to find out, is there that connection? And then have that meaningful conversation with lots of listening and no judgment. So that the person can express,
really
open up in a way that they don't feel judged, that they feel safe, and they can express what's coming up for them. And there's tools and techniques to drill down. There's tools and modalities that can help to identify what those values are and what the feelings are around those values, and then have a conversation around that, and then establish what happens when these needs are not met. What comes up for you? What do you do? What are your options? I jokingly talk about the everyone's coaching bingo card. It's that little square in the middle that we can fill in, and it's boundaries. That's a topic that every coach can have a conversation with their clients. So it's for me, it's really, really important. And slowing down to establish, just to consider where our boundaries are at any given moment. Things are always going on in our lives. Things are really busy, no matter who we are or how slow we want to be taking things. There's always lots to consider. And slowing down to consider what these boundaries are and what they mean for us. Do they need to be strengthened? Do I need to move them? Do I need to communicate them? I'd go back to something we spoke about earlier in the conversation about relationships and communication. There's two ways of communicating boundaries. They've been transgressed, and then it's usually no. I don't want this. Or they've been transgressed, and the person that transgressed the boundary didn't know that there was a boundary there, and it's usually met with some sort of anger, disappointment, resistance, aggression perhaps. So taking the time to have conversations up front, meaningful conversations around who I am as a person, what my boundaries might be. And it's impossible to sit and list every single situation where I might have a boundary in place with another person. That's where conversations meander and they weave and they cross over, and that's the beauty, is that we could talk about, if you're talking about anything and expressing feelings without judgment, can tell the person, oh yeah, no, in that situation I wouldn't accept that particular type of behavior from another person, or I wouldn't accept that type of service in a restaurant or something like that. And so that when you get into that situation with that other person, you've clearly communicated what the boundary is, what you will and will not accept. And so if they remember that, then they can act accordingly. For example, if you're in a restaurant and the service is poor, and you go, yeah, I really don't mind bad service, or I don't like bad service. And when I get bad service, this is how I react.
You've got a choice.
And I do it for these particular reasons, and so that I can get something for myself in this particular instance, so that when that happens, the other person isn't caught off guard because you've told them up front, what you will and will not accept. So that communication up front is so important. Connection. We speak about connection being so important. And communicating openly and honestly is so important. If I'm communicating things other than my boundaries, or I don't communicate my boundaries clearly, how must the other person know?
Because sometimes it's something that it's different for everybody. So what might apply to me might be something completely foreign to you, but there's a reason why that is really important to me. So if I don't communicate this to you, you will not understand. And then sometimes also I think in for instance, people that come and see you, I think just running all these things past someone that's from a completely outside point of view, or a non-judgmental space, like you say, it's often very, very easy to open up to someone that doesn't know you, that doesn't know your significant other or your boss. It's not a personal thing, but you need to discuss this with someone, or maybe you don't feel comfortable discussing it with your best friend. So that's where you come in. And then how do people find you? If you had to say, if this is something that you're struggling with, can we chat? What would that general thing be that's usually a good indication that maybe you should just go talk to somebody about it?
I think if someone is uncertain about something that's going on around them or within them, usually within them, as a coach, as a, I'm not going to use the word therapist, but it's kind of in that space. When there's something not sitting nicely within me, I'm feeling discomfort around a particular thing. It's always a good sign to go and speak to somebody. A problem shared is a problem halved, is the old adage. And it's very true. By talking through something, often I have thoughts in my head, and they run around as thoughts in my head, and I never express them as words. And when I sit down and talk to somebody, I have my own coach who I go to from time to time. And the first time that I speak with them and speak my thoughts is the first time I've ever done that. And suddenly I'm hearing these words coming out of my mouth, and the other person's hearing them, and they can reflect them back to me and go, you said this, what did you mean by that? And suddenly getting cross-checked on my words, which started out as my thoughts, is like, and sometimes I feel defensive. No, I want to defend this. I want to defend this thought. And as soon as I'm wanting to defend something, and I'm putting down a boundary. I'm putting a boundary down about my thoughts. So what's that about? I need to think about it. And if my coach is holding me accountable, they won't let me off the hook. And they will keep checking until they're satisfied that I'm actually in alignment with my thoughts in terms of what my goals are. And so a good sign would be is if there's some sort of disconnect between my goals, my values, my feelings, my thoughts, boundaries, I think, come somewhere towards the end, but very, very important to remember that these are the things that actually protect me and protect my values. But the values need to be established first. Back in the medieval times, they built castles around things that they wanted to protect. The castle's only there because there was something valuable to protect. It was the king's fortune, or it might have been their grain store or something. It was only that valuable thing that was there that gave the castle any purpose. So have that chat with somebody. Find somebody. It could be interesting. It could be interesting.
Deep and meaningful connections. That is what I'm searching for. Trevor, if anyone would like to speak to you, if anyone would like to find you, where can they find you online? Do you do in person? Do you also do online? You're like a journey partner.
Yeah, so my practice is Tree of Life journey. The Tree of Life for me is quite symbolic. There's roots, the values, the foundation for the things that the life force that's where the life force starts. The trunk is the stability, the thing that holds everything up together. The branches and the foliage make up the tree. The branches are symbolic of the different aspects of my life. My personal life, my spiritual life, my sporting life, intellectual, entertainment, all those things. And then the foliage is where those different aspects of my life engage with society, with the outside world. And I believe that's a good metaphor for anybody. So my practice is the Tree of Life journey, and I'm the journey partner should anybody choose to go that journey, to take that journey to their Tree of Life. I could be that journey partner with them, not to guide them, but just to partner them, keep them company along the way, keep them safe, and check that they know that they're going in the right direction. So they can find me at treeoflifejourney.co.za. That's my website. Trevor Coach on Instagram. I have a LinkedIn page, Trevor Ives. You can find me there. I'm also on Facebook as Tree of Life Journey. So all those places I can be found.
Yes, please find Trevor if that is something that speaks to you. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for coming into my life and doing this with me. And I hope that you can make a big difference in this world with what you're also already doing. I know you're involved in the Mankind group. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And can people get involved in it? Or is it like a program only for you as coaches support?
So the Mankind Project is a non-profit organization. It's international. We have a South African section of it. I think section is the wrong word, but and it's for men to come on a weekend and do some self-exploration. I call it an hors d'oeuvre, an entree, a starter to something that's much, much greater. It's an interesting time. It's challenging. It's invigorating. It's enlightening. And there are many, many things like that. So Mankind Project is for men. There are equivalent programs for women, teenagers, young boys, young girls. Those things are available, and they can be found. They're out there. It just takes a bit of searching.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. And I think the Tree of Life analogy is also so beautiful, because at the end of the day, this tree, from the roots right up to the foliage, that is your life. That is your legacy. And I think the older we get, we're going to sit under the comfort and under the shading of this tree that we're creating. So let's make some beautiful trees with enough shade so that other people can sit down next to us.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Lorika.
And I hope to see everyone for our next conversation. I will keep you updated on who I'm going to talk to, what it's about. And if you like this, please like and subscribe to this video. Follow Trevor. I'm also on Facebook, Contagious Courage. There's a page, there's a group. In the group we will be chatting more private groups about a certain topic. Say, for instance, if there's any questions, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them, get in contact with us, and just make sure that you can live the best life that you possibly can, with love and respect and enough time and enough patience to handle the big storms. So let's fill our cups half full so that there's enough space for all the unexpected things and the beautiful things that come along that we call life.
Thanks, Lorika.
Pleasure.
Thank you.